Hi, this is Chardell Roden, and you are tuned in to Musical Heat Wave, the best wave. Bless.
Musical Heatwave, we're live on location in Neasden for the press launch of the Reggae Star Factor. And Jack Rubin, a veteran in the music business, but one of the primary suspect in this business.
Respect, bless. How is everything? Everybody good?
Everybody's great. Musical Heatwave radio, online, and Musical Heatwave TV doing great as well too. Reggae Star Factor. What are the main ingredients of it?
The main ingredients is to discover talent, you know, that ain't getting any looking. Sorry, and carry them to a level where they can go out on the marketplace and become thriving artists. It's also to create a reggae music industry in the United Kingdom, because as much as we have many artists, we don't have our industry. And this is the foundation of what we're doing now. Bringing talent forth, creating a credible talent show, and taking it from there. Off of that will come many other things we have planned.
Right. Well, what are the some of the obstacles you had to overcome to make sure that you get the platform that you need in order for it to succeed?
They're still overcoming them now. So we're still overcame and still overcoming now. Yeah. Many things, as you know. Call it the recession, we would want to call it other things, but there's not much facilities for us, you know what I mean, to go and do live music anymore, to perform and to actually enjoy what we know best, that has been part of our culture all our life, music. So for us, going to venues, convincing them to give us a venue, because this is going to be different. This is an actual sit-down talent quest, convincing the management, getting over their obstacles, finding the money, because no one's funding us, getting the funding. You know what I mean? You can do your research and work hard, but at the same time, when they just don't want to give you any financial input, you have to find the money yourself if you believe in it, and we've got a passion for it. It's not about making money, it's about creating an industry over here, or being part of creating an industry.
A lot of people might find the word reggae kind of difficult to deal with, especially the wider media, because I guess they have a problem with reggae for whatever reasons. What is it you have to do to get past the dirty word, as you can say it?
Well, you know what I would say right now, as far as the industry goes in general, but especially here in Britain, we've got to get professional, and we've got to know the business of music, and we've got to be able to present our stuff, because guess what, when you say they don't like reggae, reggae's in their life. Absolutely. It's all over their TV, it's everywhere. They just don't like how we're bringing it, for whatever reason that may be. Now, if we get educated to PR, marketing, music, and knowing the avenues that are open to us, and explore them and unite, we need a union. We don't have our own union, you know. That's just an example where we can have a central body that can guide and give us the guidelines to make things work for us. So stuff like that is what we really need right now.
So why is it that reggae, the genre of reggae, is so successful in Europe? The many festivals, the artists that gravitate to Europe. What is it? What is it about the UK?
Well, you know what? It's very strange you should say that, because it is very successful in Europe. And I would have to honestly say that it's predominantly white people in Europe that are enjoying it and loving it. That's not a racist comment, and everything's so political correct now that people are scared to talk, but I can only tell the truth. It's minority of black people in this country that love it. You know what I mean? Even though you go to festivals all over and it's there, we're the ones keeping it alive in our cities and in our back streets, and we don't have that avenue anymore. You know what I mean? Once upon a time we had many venues, now we have none, virtually. You know what I mean? Struggling to keep it alive, and I just believe now we have to present ourselves professionally. The UK reggae music industry still does not have a successful video industry. You don't see reggae videos in England. It's ridiculous. 1 and 2, and people are cottoning on now, and give thanks for that. But we need it. We need to do what these grime kids have done. They've gone and took it to the world, and we need to do that. we got this lazy, laid-back attitude in England, you know what I mean, when it comes to that. And I think we need to really get video people like yourselves and other people that are willing to get involved in projects and make it work.
As an artist who's had many success right here in the UK, right around the world, what is it that you feel that the artist is missing so that he can't carry through what you yourself did in the 80s, you know, late 90s? You know, what is it? What is it?
Well, you know what?
What's missing?
I've got a feeling because we worked so hard back then in an analog era where we had to physically go out when we wanted to give a record to someone and give it to them, etc. And they've got a technological age where they press a button now. I don't know if they've just taken that for granted. You know what I mean? Some people believe just putting your song on iTunes is enough, where it's nowhere near enough. It's the equivalent of when Jetstar was open. You'd carry your record in there to be distributed, but if you're not publicising it yourself, a record shop man would have to kick it accidentally and come across it and see it. So again, I think they've taken social media for granted and use it for many things, but they need to gear their marketing and their networking to the social media platforms that are available to them at a press of a button. And I feel that, along with some business acumen, getting a little education on the business and conducting yourself correctly and not being put under peer pressure to just do what's fashionable. Yeah, you can do what's fashionable. We all like a little fashion, but when it's all said and done, do you want to create yourself in the industry, or do you just want to be a flash in the pan?
Sure. Because when you hear that there's some £3 billion worth of royalties, reggae royalties, laying dormant in France, and you're thinking, what's going on?
It's crazy. This is what I'm saying. And unfortunately for those set of people coming back from in the old era where they used to just take money and go, and you know, man take the publishing and go on with it and know what to do with it, it was too late for them. It happened, and now they've had to fight to get back something. This generation can read, look into your history, get close with your culture again. I'm going to a lot of households and noticing kids are not sitting around the dinner table again as a family, and I eat dinner and I have conversations. Some people are doing it still. I'm not knocking everybody, but I don't see a lot of that no more. And you know, I look at these things as all part and parcel of education and learning. You know what I mean?
So true. So Reggae Star Factor, how are you preparing your contestants to tackle the business and make sure that they get what they set out to get from it?
Well, you know what, Reggae Star Factor is a serious process, and you know, we've got industry people involved that have experience. Some of the greatest musicians, some of the greatest marketing people, you met some of them today in there, right? And what we're doing is taking them through the stages from beginning. Some of them's never worked with a band, you know what I mean? And if you want to be an international artist, don't kid yourself, you better know how to work with a band. You know what I mean? So we're taking them through the band experiencing, letting them get a feel of working with the band, taking them through the marketing side of things and PR side of things, because we're giving them interviews, taking them through the process of singing in front of an audience. After they've done that, we've got a boot camp for 2 weeks where they're going to go in, they're going to record with industry professionals and get an experience of the industry and see if it's something they really believe they can take on.
Because the passion has to be there regardless if the talent is there.
Well, if you haven't got the passion, then forget it, because if you've just got money on your mind, you won't make none. You know what I mean? And that often happens. You have to have that passion, and you have to be able to bring something to the game. You know?
Most definitely. And as a veteran artist who's had the successes, as I said, what main lesson you think you've learned now that here we are 2018? What's the main lesson, and are there any regrets?
I've got no regrets, to be honest, in the industry. Every ride, even the bad ones, has been good for making me what I am now. And the greatest things for me in the industry was traveling, meeting people, learning from people that knew a lot more than me. When I thought I knew it and then I back up on someone that knew it, it's like, whoa. And you listen and you get educated. So that was a fantastic experience, and I wouldn't give that up for the world. You know what I mean? The downsides of it is that we still haven't established the reggae industry in the United Kingdom, and we're all here feeling around and doing our thing, but we can't quite be the full-time artists we'd like like to be because of commitments and because there isn't a thriving industry for us to eat food from.
Sure. So, the final word to those who are listening and watching, what would that be? What would you say to them?
Final word is big up yourself, you know what I mean? Stay true to yourself, give thanks for life, you know what I mean? And stay true to the game. If you're in the music industry, if you're in it to eat and run, if you're a reducer, it not gonna help you. You understand? Because you shall fall. And the greatest lesson a man can learn in life is karma. So if you're to teach, or if you're a part of an industry, be part of it, brethren. And let's make it work. No bigger than no other man. The whole of we are people together, we all bleed the same blood. So let's take the ego away and just move together and let's teach each other something and unite. And maybe we might end up with an industry in the United Kingdom.
Never too late.
Bless up.
Bless up, Jack Rubin. So let me introduce you to Shardel Roden, who actually won season 1 of Reggae Star Factor. What did you learn from that?
Well, I learned that if you put a plan into action, really think out what you're going to do and execute it to a high level, you can achieve a win. You know, and sometimes you can have a great plan and put things together and it doesn't result in anything. But this time, I took my knowledge of the business and of my time in the music and put it all together and came out with a great result in a win. So it's a good feeling.
And of course, the competition within that season, something you needed to either watch and see. What was the key ingredient you felt that you had that made you win?
Well, I did the opposite to every other contestant. Every other contestant wanted to prove how original they were and how good their original material was. Through my experience, through working on the circuit a little bit and going to open mics, I learned that original gets a little bit of respect and praise, but it doesn't get that wall up. People want to hear something that they like. People want something that they can sing. So I went into the competition with that. I wanted to please the crowd, give them music that they know, so that any barriers could go down and they can just appreciate my voice, my presentation, and every other artist did the opposite of me. I only pulled for my original in the final. Okay. That's when I'm like, okay, I've got this far. Now I need to show my creativity, my originality. So I did a cover of Tina Turner. What's Love Got to Do with It? That won me the first heat. So I won the very first heat. And then I did the semi-final. I did a Rihanna, Man Down, to show my versatility again as an artist, and I brought props and everything. And then in the final, I did one of my original songs, Bassline, which is on the rhythm of Susan Cadogan's Hurt So Good. So then again, it still had an element that people could be like, oh, I know this. This sounds familiar. It's a little bit different, but I like it. And then I killed them with Break Up to Make Up for the final, with a gold catsuit, gold earrings, saying, you want reggae star factor, I'm going to give you star factor. I'm going to give you Showtime. I wanted to bring a package, so and it worked well.
Well, absolutely, and of course you definitely did your research, because image, as you found out.
Yes, you need to bring a package. It's not just about the voice or your face or your figure or how well you move. It's about combining all of these things as well as good song choice. Sure. So all of those things are very key, So
how do you continue from here? Because obviously you can't continue doing covers. I know you're writing. You say you're writing, but where do you think you will be in a year's time? I mean, what's happening? The preparation. Okay,
well, since I won that, I went to open for Sanchez. I've opened for Admiral Tibbet. I've opened for other artists. I've done my own shows. I headlined at Jazz Cafe. I've just had an EP come out with Stingray. I have a tune coming out with Cutty Ranks. I'm doing it now. So I'm combining my original material and covers on my project, because people still want to have something that they like. But when I do a cover, I put put my own stamp on it. I put it in a way that people have trouble to come after I've covered it, you know. So I'm doing it. In a year's time, I'm supposed to have my second album, because I had the album with Real Talk that was part of my prize of winning the first Reggae Star Factor. So in a year's time, the album is supposed to be finished and out with Stingray, as well as other products, because to be current and relevant, you have to keep putting music out, and each time it gets better and better. You evolve your talent, like Bigger Morrison was saying. You have to just keep doing it for the love of it, you know.
And of course, I guess in every reggae artist to perform and have a hit in Jamaica may be one of the goals, I'm sure.
Of course, but to have a hit anywhere, we were aspiring to have just one hit. I was sing it and sing it and sing it and sing it and sing it. That's all we're looking for. Anywhere in the world, that one hit is the elusive wonder, you know.
Well, I hope you get it soon. I know it's there, you know, because talent is talent.
It will come, and perseverance and discipline also. It's not just about talent, you have to be disciplined. And I come from a background of athletics. I know about hard work. So with my discipline and my talent and my determination and motivation, I'm supposed to get there.
All right, well, we wish you all the best, Charlotte. Thank you very much for taking the time out.
Thank you very much. Take care.
Musical Heatwave, and of course the press launch of Reggae Star Factor, and the only female on the panel, and perhaps the CEO, is that correct?
Yeah, that's correct.
Okay. First of all, is it a big project, and how are you feeling about it?
Well, Reggae Star Factor is like my baby, because I came off a tour one day. I was touring with Max Romeo, and I came off the road, you know, and I came home and I said, you know what, I usually work on this, you know, because Simon Cowell them isn't really catering for reggae as such. So I said, you know what, I'm going to start this. And I just got up the day and just started to do the research that I needed to do. I started printing flyers and just putting it all together.
So why do you think it hasn't been done before?
I don't know. I think what it is, you know, you have to dedicate your time to it and you have to invest in it. And something like that, it takes a lot of investment and it takes a lot of time, because you've got to plan, you've got to sort auditions, you've got to get the word out there so that people can know what's happening, you know. So it's a process, and a lot of people don't have the patience to do the process. Sure. You see, so that's what I think, that's one of the reasons why it hasn't been done before.
And I guess getting the credibility to stand up, that in itself is a task, I should imagine.
Yeah, believe me, because even with season 1, you know, we took a risk of doing it, you know, and the first show was okay, second show okay, but because you have to break the market, you have to put it out there, we had to kind of just let it roll. And by the time we got to Heat 4 and the semi-finals of the first one, we had a full house. The semi-finals, the finals, we had to give back people their money. So yeah, by the time we got to the finals of season 1, you know, people were outside. We had to turn away people.
So was it about curiosity? What was it about?
What it was, as the shows went along, after each heat, we put up a trailer so people could see what was actually happening, see the contestants that were in the show, etc., and see what they would be seeing. So more people started to gravitate to it that way, and that's why we started to get the build-up and the full house.
And of course, most talent competition, a lot of people talk about the quality of the competitors, also the quality of the songs. What is it that you put in place to make sure that it has the quality status?
Well, that's why we do the audition process, and when we're auditioning, we look at talent that is ready to roll or talent that needs developing, that we could see we can develop, you understand, and put them on the platform that they need to be. So these are the things that we look out for when we're picking the auditionees to go into the actual competition.
Okay. So as I guess you're a mentor to a lot of people, and of course being in the business for such a long time, and a very professional person as you are, what's the main thing you feel that someone with aspirations, you know, to get into the business, what is it you think they need they have to have? What is it, that one thing you feel?
First thing I think, because of how the business is, if you are not educated within the business, know how the business works, know the pitfalls, know the things that you don't need to do. Let us take the examples of the elders from before. We saw that a lot of them didn't know about the business, so they lost all their rights, you know, and it made them really bitter, and it really didn't really kind of help the industry, because the producers were making all the money, the artists weren't really making no money, and there was no money being pumped back into the industry. So, you know, you have to learn that, you know, you have to keep things turning. So if you make a little, put a little bit back, so that, you know, you can keep it flowing.
Indeed. As I ask your partner, Jack, why is it that reggae is, and all the other aspects of reggae is popular and successful in Europe? What is it that we are not doing here in the UK?
You know what it is? The Europeans have got to feel, by having the experience of reggae artists coming from Jamaica and going over to Europe, and they've gravitated to the reggae music through that, and they've gravitated so much that they created their own. They love reggae so much that they want this for themselves, and that's what they've done. They've created it for themselves. You understand? But us in England here, we have nothing going on. It's like reggae doesn't really exist to us no more on the level that it was in the past, and the Europeans have taken it and ran.
But because, I mean, for instance, take for instance the Sky International Festival. I mean, we were on a boat sailing up and down the Thames with a packed boat, being entertained by Ken Booth, and various years we've had other artists, you know, all celebrities. And you look in the boat and you're probably 1% of our people on that boat. What is it that they're doing that you're hoping that you could do with Reggae Star Factor? Because I guess it comes to marketing and making sure that reggae is not a dirty word.
Well, somebody said to me the other day,
have a problem with the word reggae.
It's like, we seem to think that people don't want to support reggae. But if reggae, if the outlet is there and people know about it, then, you know, people will support it. So that's what we intend to do. We intend to get people aware of reggae and supporting reggae.
So Reggae Star Factor, is it a whole company that the audition, you take the winners through certain stages? Do you market them as well, or do you sign them up? How does it work?
What we done in the first instance, they get an album deal. I'm the record label, Real Talk Productions UK. They get a management deal, and they get some shows across Europe. That was the prize for the first 2 seasons. We've completed that. Joe Caesar, we done a single with her, and she decided that she wasn't ready to do the album yet. So we're going to be looking at that later on down the road. And for season 3 coming up, the winner will perform on Rebel Salute. They will go to Jamnesia, where Chronix and everybody and all the upcoming artists are endorsed by, and they'll work with Urchin Smith. They'll work on 2 tunes produced by Urchin Smith in the yard, and they'll also do other little things on the island, and then they'll come back and I'll do some recording with them.
So that almost throwing them in the deep end in a sense.
Yeah. Well, you know, this is why when we look at representing England and representing Reggae Star Factor, we try to, the winner has to be ready to roll. Now, Shardell Roden, I know we can send her to Jamaica and she will stand up with everything else, just like Joe Caesar. You know, they can go out there and represent England, represent Reggae Star Factor, represent reggae from the UK.
Indeed. So what's happening with your own career now, apart from that? Our wonderful Basie for all these years. There you are standing up amongst the men, holding your own.
Yeah, still holding my own. I'm just doing some production right now. I'm just producing some artists. Ken Booth's doing some voicing for me, Max Romeo. And Frenchy King. I'm just doing some little bits and pieces and throwing them out. Just put out Kitty's album, Golden Rule. It's just gone out there on our label. And we're just doing little projects and keeping the music moving around, and I'm managing BBMC. So yeah,
that's another task in itself.
Yeah, tell me, I've got the home of reggae. I've got a big responsibility.
It's a big legacy to follow, you know. I mean, how do you keep it up, and how do you make sure that it still keep the name, as it were?
Well, you know, it's funny, you know, because I've been managing it for 2 years now, and it's just gone from strength to strength. All the artists, them, are still coming there to rehearse. If you look at our Facebook, everybody's there. Horace Andy, Johnny Clark, Christopher Ellis, everybody's still using the place. We're still running, and everything's going good. And we're just cleaning up the place and trying to do a bit of refurbishment. And once we finish the refurbishment, we're going to open the training school upstairs that I was speaking about, where the young ones can come in and be educated about the industry, PPL, PRS, know their rights, and it's so important, you know, and as well as if they want to learn music production, they want to learn an instrument, we'll have all those facilities there for them.
Okay, so we're looking forward to that. So social media, how can we get in touch with BBMC or yourself regarding Reggae Star Factor?
Well, we have a Reggae Star Factor Facebook, I have Diana Black Facebook, and we have BBMC Family Facebook, so you can get us on any one of them.
All the best. And how are you feeling right now with the whole career and everything? Here we are, 2018. What's your feeling about life at this moment?
Well, you know, from the year began, things have happened, you know, some down things, but for the most, I feel it's a good year. You know, I feel it's a year for progress, and I feel like a lot of good things are going to happen this year. You know, as long as we stay collective and do the things together, we can achieve big things.
Very positive.
Give thanks. You're welcome. Thank you.
Greetings, my name is Jo Caesar, and thanks for having me.
So you on season 2 of Reggae Star Factor. What has happened since then? Tell me.
Oh, well, recently, just found myself a manager, so we're going to start doing some serious work now, so you're going to start hearing a lot more from me. I know I've been a bit quiet for a little while, but that's because I've been secretly planning, because I want to do things properly, so I'm going to make a huge comeback, and hopefully it will be a surprise to a lot of people, because they're not really going to be expecting to hear what they're going to hear from me. So yeah, I look forward to starting this new project.
And of course, as a female artist in this business, it's not the easiest thing, even though we're in 2018 where everything is supposed to be equal to a certain degree. It hasn't been easy. What are your preparations for that side of things?
It's basically about having a good team. Like Jack was saying, no man is an island. I've tried to do things by myself, and I've fallen into traps, but at the same time it's been a learning curve, and I've learned to trust people a bit more, so hence why I said I've got management now, and management is going to kind of take the steering wheel and help me on this journey, and to make me a better artist. So he's also helping me to be a lot more confident within myself. Sometimes I have lacked confidence, but yeah, it's a learning process, and I like to think I'm getting there slowly but surely.
The Reggae Star Factor done for you. What is it?
They gave me the platform, and they've got my name out there. Not that my name wasn't out there before, because I've been doing music for a very, very long time. But Reggae Star Factor, if anything, helped me promote me as an artist a bit more. That's it, really.
What about your originality, creativity? Because that is quite important, having a success in this business.
Yes.
You know, you can cover and still have success, but to a certain degree, you have to have the originality about you. What is it that you do to maintain that?
I'm just me, to be honest. I don't know actually what it is that I do. A lot of people want to say, oh, you know, you're this and you're that and you're fantastic, and, you know, you've got this and you've got the X Factor. But I'm just Joe, you know, and it's just, it all just comes out natural. I don't like to think that I have to try hard, but at the same time, you still have to put effort into what you do, you know. But yeah, I like to say that I'm quite different to artists, but that's for other people to decide. So when I put my music out there, hopefully you guys like what I'm doing.
Well, we're looking forward to the new.
Thank you, me too.
And all the best.
Thank you very much. It would be so nice nice if you could come and check me sometime. I could buy some wine and we could have a really good time.